First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for really tapping in with us this season. Man, we really went from an audio-only podcast to now we have videos, and now we have a special guest from across the country. Couldn't wait to talk to him. So thank y'all for tuning in to the last episode of the second season, Their Radio. All right, bro, if you can please introduce yourself, who you are, what your name is, what you do, anything you want the people to know before we get started.
Absolutely. Hellotones, El Hijo de PueblaYork, Cumbia DJ, Kumbias Mezcladas como nunca antes, Like That Records, Mi Sabor Cafe, all over this place, man. Planting my flag, flying the PueblaYork flag, flying la bandera cumbiambera. Yeah.
That's dope, dude. That's dope that you're actually doing this, like, because this is the new gen. I feel like you're the new gen of like cumbia, especially here in the US.
Thank you.
Because there's also that generation. I have uncles. My uncles used to be Sonideros. I say used to because one of my uncles went back to Mexico, but he used to be a Sonidero here in LA. So I grew up with that culture. I grew up like helping them like set up sound systems and everything. But that's dope.
You've seen it firsthand,
bro. I was telling them before. I was like, bam. When I was a kid, I'd be like, nah, I don't want to go to another function because I used to set up. I used to be the kid with the speakers, with the big ass bass speakers everywhere.
Yeah.
So I was like, damn, that's crazy. But how you feel about that? Continuing that culture,
dude. It is. I feel the special kind of like. It almost feels like a Venn diagram, and I'm like right in the center of a lot of different fucking overlapping circles. And I'm not a sonidero myself. I'm a DJ. I mix my music. I'm not an MC in the traditional vein of a sonidero, but all of the energy and the music selections of that ambience, that ambiente sonidero, it moves me, it drives me, it inspires me. And I'm able to recontextualize that feeling into a new music experience through my DJing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I'm sure you have more questions that'll like guide the conversation further, so I won't get into too much shit right now. But it's like, shit has really taken off for me, especially in the last year with cumbia.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a long time to get people to understand the way that I was mixing cumbias. And part of the pop for me has been, one, putting my city on my back and naming myself El Hijo de PueblaYork, and the second being owning my shit, Kumbias Mezcladas como nunca antes. And it's, I had to start my own functions, come up with the look, the feel, the lineup, put in the work, crunch the numbers, budget, find the places. I said, if they don't want me in the bailes, they don't want me in the electronic clubs with the cumbia, or because they don't understand it. I have to make them understand it, and I have to show them what this can do. So I started a party series, ended up starting a second party series. Altogether, it was about 6 or 7 parties. Last one being Cinco de Mayo, earlier this year. That one was a real special point of pride because that party series, Cumbia Tazo, I was able to fuse the sonidero world and just the cumbias DJing. And I had on the first Cumbia Tazo I had DJ Chihuahua and Sonido La Tipsy, who both like real shakers in New York. DJ Chihuahua more on the production tip as well. La Tipsy, she be doing her thing out there and all the bailes, La Voz Femenina. And then when I did my second one, I brought along Shadow Records, dude, fucking Brooklyn legend, play a lot of his cumbias, and I got to invite him along and bring him from that world into what I was doing, as well as bringing back people who have looked out for me early, like Turbo Sonidero and Mixtape.
The legend. People don't know, but that's the legend.
People don't know, that's the blueprint. Blueprint. So big salute to my dogs, Turbo Sonidero, Mixtape, Turbo Mex, Turbo with his independent projects like Killer Cumbias, or with his projects with Arrabalero, Lil Ruzi, Grupo Jejeje. Those were really blueprints for me, where I saw where the light bulb went off of, oh, this is the new cumbia. This is how people are putting it together now. But particularly that Killer Cumbia project that Turbo did, hearing like Tommy Wright the Third flips, hearing him sample Nuck If You Buck. I'm a hip hop like head through and through, and like I grew up a hip hop nerd. You know, all the homies was into sports and I was into cataloging my iTunes. All the homies was like saving up for video games. I was saving up for mixtapes.
That's
like
wild.
I was cut of this cloth in a hip hop context in New York City, going to the Chinese gift shop, buying fucking $5 mixtapes, learning my favorite DJs, DJ White Owl, DJ Big Mike, fucking K-Slay, rest in peace, DJ Drama, like real mixtape movers, tastemakers is the cloth that I feel like I was cut from. And now, you know, that's in my youth, in my teens. Now this many years later, I feel like once the DJing really took off, like I was able to work that muscle and get good at DJing and DJing cumbia in particular. I bring all those sensibilities with me, breaking records, playing that new shit, going back and looking at the old stuff, a lot of the old stuff that never got to shine. That's mixing real. It all together and recontextualizing this experience.
Recontextualizing it. That's in the moment. I do want to take us back a little to really your origins with this movement. Mentioning hip hop, mentioning collecting records and all these different mixtapes. For you, when do you remember the first time you really became connected with music in that kind of strong type of sense?
Yeah, it was definitely with mixtapes because, you know, like my folks, humble folks, hardworking folks, I'm blessed in many ways, but, you know, I'm the youngest of 4. We're only the first generation from my parents immigrating from Puebla to fucking New York.
Shout out to Puebla.
Shout out to PueblaYork. But that, you know, my pops was one of the first, as far as I know, one of the first Mexicans in New York. He came to New York in 1979 when he was like 16 years old, bro. The only other person here was our tia, who was living in, I think, might have been like Marcy Projects. And my pops was telling me like, yo, you know, I used to work all these little dishwasher jobs on West 4th, get off at 4 a.m. I had to run home, get on the train, watch my back the whole time and run home, and like just to make sure what I worked my ass off was mine and no one took it from me. And you know, this many years later, to know that like the framework and the foundation of all the work my parents put in, and then all of the poblanos that came after, and like really seeing the city become a mecca or like a hub for Mexicans in the last 40 years. It's really young history. Where our, you know, thing about Mexicans love hard, so everybody be having kids and shit. So now we're like 4 generations deep, a little quick. But I think what's happening is I'm in a very special place that it's a lot of younger kids, you know, between like 18 and 21, and even maybe younger than that I'm not aware of, that they did grow up around cumbia. Their parents were bumping it. It didn't mean they took particular interest in it. And now they see the way that I'm recontextualizing, the way I move to it. I bounce like I'm bouncing like a hip-hop record when I'm on stage, and that's intentional because, 1, it moves me that way, but 2, I think sometimes the apprehension to a dance-based genre is that I have to be nice at this, or I have to know how to dance this. And the truth is like, I love it even more when I see all the fucking couples throwing down and all the fucking spins and everyone got their own sauce to it. But I also love when I see the younger homies or the newer homies or the homies who don't even come from a Mexican background, who are there to see good music, and they see me moving and they're like, all right, I don't have to be that nice. Maybe they want to, but I can still move to this, and my fucking energy is telling them, go, follow me, let's move to this.
That's what's up. Did your family have that connection to cumbia as well, or you kind of built it
Well, you
off?
know, like just talking about the roots of how hardworking my parents were and shit, is just like a lot of times it was just always work. And so really my only exposures to cumbia weren't necessarily bailes, but from a young age, you know, everybody's cousins is there, everyone got kids, so there's bautizos, bodas, all quinceañeras. And I have distinct memories of being a young child, like 6 years old. You know, there's 4 children. They got to wrangle everybody up. We get to the function kind of late. And we get like the shitty table in the corner right next to the sound system.
With the cold mole.
With the cold mole. And then it might, sometimes might be the fucking, like you'll be right next to the blown out speaker.
Oh,
so it's just like. That shit don't stop no Mexican children from sleeping though. No. They will fucking sleep through war. That shit cracks me up.
Sleeping or stopping them from being right in front of the videographer.
Oh my god, them little kids be zooming. They be on the dance floor like Subway Surfers. Yo, and it's crazy, and it's just like, this is not relevant, but I'll just be thinking about, you know how they be putting when the little kid finally get tired, if it's a family function, they put them in the jacket room. And sometimes they just get buried under like 30 jackets. Shit crack me up.
That's hella true, man. That's dope to see. Like shit, like no matter where you are in this country, specifically the US, it's like it's kind of that similar culture, you know.
We share those experiences. Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
You felt that here.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it is here. Like you were mentioning, hardworking parents, and I think a lot of the times also Poblanos get that rep of like, oh, Poblanos are hardworking and whatnot. Is that stereotype, right? But but definitely, it's definitely that culture of especially trying to build something new, right?
Yeah.
Trying to build something new,
trying to get people to understand something new more than anything, because I like building it. I feel like I had the framework and the bones, you know. I definitely want to give big shine to two of my closest homies, two of my teachers and my mentors in this, and they wouldn't even necessarily want me to lead with that title, but they really showed me the framework of like, this is how you DJ, this is how you approach this as an art form. It's the label collective that I'm a part of to this day, but that I joined before I was even a DJ, called Like That Records. We are electronic club music, hip hop based label, but aside from releases, we put on some of the most legendary shows in New York City ever. Biggest one, we were the first to bring Megan Thee Stallion to New York City before anybody. Had her in a techno club, sold out. 2 weeks later, not because of us, but the timing just lined up. You know, she go major, and now she's a household name. We were really into hip hop, particularly like and being of club music, where, you know, we want everybody moving, and we want it to feel like a vibe, fun and sexy. It's like we put on a lot of shows with great femme rappers, you know, and like a lot of underground shit too, you know. Like I don't know if these names will be relevant all the way, or not relevant, excuse me, if people will know these off rip, but you know, people like fucking Booty Chain and Baby Mother and who else did we fucking do? I'm trying to think. It was such a legendary run, man. One of the first shows I got to have my hands in learning the ropes was I brought Baby Sosa out from Virginia to New York in 2019. Dude, so that's all to say. It's me and the guys. I came on the team on some, hey, I have these skills and I really like what you guys do. Let's work together if y'all are open to it. And then the rest is kind of history. I learned how they put events together. They showed me the ropes. They brought me in closer. I'm in such proximity to such talented DJs. I'm forgetting to even name them. Like That Records, my brothers Marvelito and Ace Manuel. We are certified tastemakers in this shit to this day. I mean, hundreds of episodes of radio shows, a crazy arsenal of shows, releases, videos, and we're still going to this day. But those two guys, besides from giving me the ropes, giving me the fucking syllabus, I did all the work. I will say I put in the work and I did my homework and I fucking learned how to DJ for real. But, you know, a part of my creative process and becoming comfortable DJing was I like so many different things. I don't want to learn how to DJ just one thing. So I started a series called Tony Tunes. Yeah. It was the very first, like, my mix that I put out. This must have been like 4 or 5 years ago. I'm having trouble remembering. Pandemic. Just before the pandemic. That November before pandemic was when I dropped the first one. My approach to that was, I'm learning how to DJ. I'm on Serato. I just got my little controller. It's hooked up. Just throwing everything in my iTunes in my crate. Reading BPMs, reading keys. What makes sense together? And it ended up being a mesh of electronic, hip-hop, trap, indie rock, dark wave, post-punk, and every now and then cumbia. Yeah. And like, you know, I sharpened my knife that way, and once enough movement was happening with the mixes and there were opportunities to have me open up for shows, I had to kind of tone down that approach because that doesn't necessarily always translate well into a live music space or in a club, especially. Kind of weaving in and out of so many genres tends to throw people off, and I kind of understand that, right? Because they were more of an audio experience as mixes as opposed to here's a reflection of what I would do live. So then I started trimming it, and it was more just like dance sounds, right? So every now it became a big focus of mixing hip hop, Jersey club in such a raw way. That shit's regular now. Now there's hits on the radio that are that. But if you go back, even before my time, the way that Marv and Ace were doing it for Like That Radio, that shit is the blueprint, man. That shit is the blueprint for real. But as to get back to my point, as I was leaning into making it more danceable, it was club music, hip hop, and cumbia. And who started fucking like kind of connecting those dots was also Turbo Sonidero. You know, you could hear it in his early project. You can hear it now, but I'm saying in his early projects like Killer Kumbias, light bulbs just started going off in my head. So all of this was happening where I'm linking back up with Like That, and I'm also discovering Turbo's music, mixtape stuff, and everything by extension that they were doing is Cumbiamberos Internacionales compilations. I'm digging, I'm finding, I'm putting pieces together, I'm trying to see what works. And then now I'm playing shows live, and I get to do it live, and every time I mix the cumbia into it, you know, and just for context, it was like, this was like in like, you know, like clubs out in Brooklyn and shit, like dance clubs. So it's like every time I snuck the cumbia in, people wouldn't get it immediately, but it wouldn't necessarily clear the dance floor. It would just be a moment of wonder, like, I never heard this before. What, like, what is this tempo? And it was just like, because, you know, people would go to those clubs for like techno and house and you know, every now and then there's more room for the things that are bubbling now, like footwork and Jersey club. But those were anomalies there, and like my homies were some of the first people to bring hip hop in there, bring Jersey club into these techno clubs, and really open up the fucking doors so that I could go there and I could bring hip hop and club, but then I could bring cumbia. And they were watching all that happen too, and they were like, yo, Tones, keep going, like put more cumbia in it, because they're moving to it, and you know your shit, like keep going. So it ended up being that over years it morphs from a majority club set with cumbia sprinkled in to a majority cumbia set with club sprinkled in. And it's because I had mentors, teachers, homies, friends who encouraged that kind of experimentation. And look at where I'm at now, dude. This shit paid the fuck off. Like I had to fucking go, and I had to show people like, nah, there's a new way to do this. And now I get to take my framework of thinking, of digging for records and digging for tapes, and I get to go back to all the old shit too, and pick all these songs that never got any shine, all these grupos that had one CD or something. I get to go and I get to listen to it, and I get to, you know what, I'm gonna bring this to a dance floor, and I get to see people respond to it.
Yeah, that's hella dope. Because not only that, but you're kind of well, actually I do have a question about this, something that you mentioned, which is experimentation. And even before that, you're talking about the Tony mixes, the Tony tunes, the mixes. For you, where did that interest come from? Like wanting to, you know, to do all of these experimentation and bring all of these sounds come together. Was it because that's kind of the culture of New York, or where do you feel like that?
No, I don't think it's. I wouldn't even put that on the city. It was really watching my homies do it with the genres that they were experimenting with, and being able to think, well, what can I add into this? What am I of? And then also that's just the way my brain works. I just like to like experiment with things. I like to value process more than final product as much as I can, because at the end of the day is like the thing with putting the final product on the pedestal. It's always good to hold yourself to a certain bar, but you can't let that bar hold you back. And a lot of times people overemphasize perfection or polishedness over realness. And I think, you know, that first Tony Tunes, it came out that November before lockdown and everything, but that whole year I had been mixing up, trying to make the perfect first mix. And at some point I just got so tired of it, and I said, you know what, this shit's gonna mean so much more if the fuck ups are in there, if it's not all the way polished, and if the person who found me from the first tape follows me all the way through, or even somebody who finds me now and goes all the way back that many years, they can hear the fucking progression of me getting better. They can hear my ear shaping up to be sharper, and they can fucking like, I want to be real. It's like transparency as much as I can in the creative process, because like people got to know this shit ain't hard to do, but you have to do the work for real. You have to do the work, and you have to come from a place of like vulnerability and honesty to a point. You know, now things are at a different scale. Now it's not so much, but I love telling the story of those early years because I wish somebody had laid it out that plainly. Thankfully, I had those mentors, those homies, Marvelito, Ace Manuel, Like That Records, Like That World. Now I be calling it Like That Mundo, and now we got fucking cumbia things in the mix, and it's just all expansive now. It feels like I have a hub for everything, but cumbia is like so welcomed.
I want to ask you where that kind of framework came from, especially because the reason I also asked this because I feel like sometimes, and I say this because I've read your work as well, but you also used to write. So
how did I get in my foot in music writing, and how did that lead here? And I also wanted to tell you how it ended up having roots in LA. So in and out of school, decided to just be on my civilian shit, just do my job, trying to figure things out. Just being in the most random places, I meet people who are like, "Yo, you know about this? You know about music, and you're funny. Why don't you write some listicles for me?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, I need some money right now, and and I get to make some money just being funny." So the first piece I ever did was like a 10 things listicle, and it was every moment on Snoop Dogg's Instagram where he was listening to banda. So I spent hours digging through Snoop, and he posts like 10 things a day.
Oh my god!
His fucking feed, to this day, he's on the same type of time.
Yeah.
But I went through his whole profile, pulled all the clips of him listening to banda, because that fool loves banda. Picked the my top 10 favorite, and just cracked jokes, man. Ended up actually writing a piece also in that same little listicle era. I pulled some of my favorite Cumbia Sonidero covers, and I was just kind of giving them props but cracking a few jokes on the swag.
Yeah.
And then, my contact my connect, I was like, hey, I really am grateful for the opportunity to write these listicles. Like, it's so cool to just write my funny shit, make a little bread here and there, and like started pushing me somewhere. And I was like, but I'm really interested in like covering more artists. These are a few of the artists I'm listening to, and I would really love to cover them if you ever get the opportunity, or if you feel like it makes sense. One of the artists that I suggested was Innerwave. If you're familiar with them, right?
From SoCal, yeah.
SoCal. Shout out my guys, Gene, Pablo. Damn, I'm slipping up on the spot.
It's like
Gene, Pablo, Eli, Luis, and I'm forgetting the last homie's name, brother. Please forgive me. But anyways, so I was a fan of theirs for a minute. They've been doing this shit forever, man. And it ended up like stars aligning. They came to New York for their first New York show, like a month after I had asked. My homegirl hit me, boom, you got it, go interview these cats. Dude, we did the interview in this publication's offices, and those guys, they were just so fucking real, man. It was just so chill. It was so nice, and like they clearly knew that I was a fan of their music, and I knew what I was talking about. But I always keep it cool. Like, I don't ever be on some like starry-eyed shit, or be like, I'm just like, yo, y'all are dope as fuck. Let me get your story down, and let's make it happen. And we kind of just ended up establishing a really lovely rapport. Came to the show that night. Tones, so fucking cool. Like I'm like, guys, like, thank y'all for welcoming me and making me. Long story short, they had a show in Philly the next day. I actually went to go drop off some shirts to them, because we became really cool over a quick night. And I was like, yo, fellas, I got some like rare ass cumbia shirts, and they were cumbia, they were Sonidero crew tees from the back of a gift shop in fucking Sunset Park. These things were in a box, bro, dusty as hell. I had a fucking Polymarks, La Changa, Condor.
That's wild.
Sick ass graphic, fucking embroidered. The logos were embroidered. God, website names, and I just wanted to give my boys the proper New York welcome. Now I would call it a proper PueblaYork welcome, but I'm getting ahead of myself. But that's how it was. Like, those things matter to me. You show me love, you welcome me into your shit, and you put trust in me, I'm gonna give it all the way right back to you. So we build that. They have a show in Philly the next day. I drop off the shirts. They're like, yo, we about to piece of Philly. I'm like, can I come with y'all? And then they were like, oh, hell yeah. And then they got excited and they were like, yo, let's fucking go. Cause I'm like, when am I ever gonna get a chance to say some shit like that? I wasn't in school. I didn't have work the next day. That shit had lined up all perfectly. I'm like, let's go. Made it to Philly. Ended up meeting the triathlon homies there. It was really cool. And then just, boom, homies, all connected online. I go back. I get a few more opportunities to write more profiles, like music profiles. One of the ones I'm most proud of. I wrote the first major profile on Omar Apollo. We had Omar Apollo in Sunset Park, chilling. I took him to that T-shirt shop. I think he bought one, and we had tacos in Sunset Park, and I just got to kick it with this fool one-on-one early in his career, man. Get his full story down, telling me, yo, he said he was at working McDonald's in Indiana. He had written this fucking song he was so proud of, and then he didn't have no money to upload it on distro and have it up on Spotify. So his homie was like, bro, here's like, I don't know if it was like $20, $40. Yo, here, bro, just put your shit up. He said within the matter of a few days or a week, it got in the editorial playlist somehow, and his shit just took off. So to be able to like hear him say that story to me early on in his career, that shit was beautiful for real. But so all of this music writing is happening, and then at the same time, dude, I'm also just fucking around on Twitter, just being stupid and silly. Well, what was once known as Twitter, fuck. Being silly, you know, on my meme shit, and you know, not like all the way like shit post shit, but just silly shit. And me being Mexican, me being in New York, and all the Puerto Ricans and Dominicans and Central Americans and all of the Latino identities adjacent to us and all on top of each other, like all that shit informed my sense of humor. And like, you know, I would just make really fucking like silly memes. Like there was that one of my big ones was when the Avengers Infinity War movie was coming out, and it was like the meme template, like, this is the most impressive major crossover event, and they'd be like, but so I was like, they were like, Marvel says this is the most major crossover event, but, and then I put what's that Nori song, Más Maíz, Nori, Nina Sky, Chingo Bling, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Because that shit was like the fucking Latin Star Avengers in fucking 08 around there. And I was like, silly shit like that. It caught the radar of Latino publication that shall not be online publication that shall not be named, and I ended up doing a shitty ass social media job for them. And fuck man, like, anyways, ended up doing social media, was overworked, underpaid, and I was like, nah, fuck this shit. So again, back to square one, civilian mode, working my job. But I run into the homie Marvelito from Like That Records. We had been homies back in the day in high school and shit, and we just reconnected just by chance. I'm seeing what he's doing. We're kicking it, doing the same shit. Dude, me and him used to fucking swap music in study hall together, like just on some like music head shit. He had been DJing since he was 12 years old, I believe. So fucking, we just get right back in tune, dude. Fucking X many years later, like so many years later, like the same dynamic. I see what he's doing. At the time, he was running a legendary series of parties in the Webster Hall basement. Like real fucking cool ass shit, man. Like shit that I get fucking like FOMO talking about because I wasn't around for that era. But I see everything going on, and instead of saying, hey, can you teach me this, I say, what to myself, what can I bring to the table here? I came from that fucking bullshit ass social media job, but I learned some shit, and I got my own shit to apply. And I'm like, yo, y'all have a lot of fire ass content, all these mixes. Let me see how I can figure out how to help you. I want to be involved somehow. And it just took off from there. Just being around homies all the time who are DJing, just being around so many talented DJs, producers. Dude, everyone is just, it could be 5 DJs and there's decks in the crib and everyone is just spinning back to back to back to back for fucking hours, man. Fucking somebody in the corner got Ableton open, there's another homie hopping in another session, and it's just like being around a creative boot camp. But it didn't feel like a boot camp per se. It was just natural. It was just a creative fucking space that my homie Marvelito always made room for wherever he was. And you know, that those spaces really set the framework for a lot of shit in hip-hop and electronic music. And now with me, with Cumbia, and being around all that, I picked up DJing. I learned how to do this shit. Practice at home, but practice on equipment there. Really sharpen that knife. And at some point, it just stopped being that I was helping with social media, and that it was just like that was our shit, the three of us. Marvelito, Ace Manuel, Hellotones. Dude, 2021, we got to do Boiler Room Festival New York, the three of us, a trio. That was a pinnacle for me, being able to be like, look, I came to these guys on some, yo, how can I help? And we're all standing next to each other like fucking the stars that we are. And that was with fucking hip-hop and club music, dude. I was doing the cumbia stuff, but it wasn't the time or the place for it there, but I always knew I'm gonna find the fucking pocket. And once they started, you know, being around me and those homies and seeing me mixing the cumbia, of course they were like, yo, Tones, keep going. At the same time, I'm connecting with fools like Turbo and Mextape, who just emceed the entire grand performances on Saturday. Emceed my event, emceed my set fucking beautifully. Dude, he found me because one of our Like That radio mixes, we had put 2 Grupo Jejeje tracks that had just dropped on Discos Rolas as singles. Discos Rolas, who invited me out to be a part of this past Saturday, full circle shit for real. So in the SoundCloud mix at the time, how I was helping was, I don't think I was even DJing, dude. I was just uploading shit, typing the fucking, so I'm typing the description, Grupo Jejeje, I put the track list, and then I put hashtag Turbo Sonidero, hashtag Grupo Jejeje. Who follows the hashtag Turbo Sonidero tag? Mextape. Mextape catches it. Turbo, look at this cat in New York running your shit, and look at how he's mixing it. Turbo connects with me. God bless both them boys' hearts, but it was always, how can I help you? What can I do here? Like, you need anything? Fuck, man, you don't find that kind of shit, dude. Like, people do not lead with that. Understandably so. It's a fucking cold game. It's a cold game, you know. It is entertainment. It is nightlife adjacent. It's like, that shit invites a lot of energy that isn't necessarily favorable at all times. And one of the first hands in cumbia that I really had was, and this was like some futuristic shit too, dude. In 2018, Ace Manuel dropped a project on Like That Records called Lumi. Fucking revolutionary club music, futuristic shit that gets rinsed constantly in the clubs. Basically greatest hits in all these electronic clubs across the world, dude. Ace Manuel fucking rings off everywhere in the club. He put out this album. I got to see it from his creative process to the release party. It was beautiful, magnificent. He decides to do a couple of remix packs where he'll take one of the tracks off the project and have 5 different producers each do their own remix and release them all together. For this one track called Touch, he said, Tones, anyone you want to get on this? Lightbulb, Turbo Sonidero. Touch, Turbo Sonidero remix. That shit came out maybe fucking 2019. People are just catching wind of that, dude. And it's club cumbia, like fucking like melding shit that the way people never thought to. I was so proud. I got asked by Boiler Room to do a mix for their Boiler Room System Mix series at the top of the year. And I started my mix with that track because I'm like, this is some Boiler Room shit. This is electronic music. This is club music. But this is club music and cumbia with fucking Hellotones touch on there, you know, for real.
Yeah.
And I feel like I kind of jumped ahead a little bit, but yeah, man, that's when things started to really click. Is those things merging lanes, but then also separating them a little bit and seeing like, okay, cumbia is what the people are responding to, and leaning all the way into that shit over the last 2-3 years, especially.
I remember having that conversation with Turbo. And talking about like how international it is, you know, how international, and not only that, but how pivotal that film I Am No Longer Here, how pivotal that film was also with like taking cumbia and that movement to another level. Dude,
it's so fascinating you mentioned that film, because I had the pleasure this weekend of meeting one of the homies who I've known online. We haven't been connected very long, only recently, but he's part of the Discos Rolas, Cumbia Net, Turbo Mixtape Family, Jorge from Sabatoje Media. He from Monterrey. He got real. Him and Dueña, Sonido Dueña, shout out to God. Cumbia Rebajada.
Yep.
Like this. Dude, the fool is all the way tapped in, documentarian. Fucking gorgeous film work. Gorgeous. Captured everything this weekend. But what he do in Monterrey, he captured that history. He's... Those dudes in that movie, I'm no longer here, ya no estoy aquí. Those were all casted in Monterrey. Those are his homies. He was here seeing what I'm doing. He already... I mean, not to like big myself up personally, but he had been seeing what I've been doing online. He got to see it for himself here and capture it with his beautiful work. And I could see, like, just his words of affirmation and his words of being like, this is incredible. Like, it means so much to me. And that thread is so beautiful.
Yeah, like I'm saying, bro, you're continuing that lineage. You know, you're a part of that. I feel like it's part of that branch, you know, part of that tree. And I was there Saturday, man. That shit was packed.
Dude, I heard a figure somewhere between 7,000 and 8,000 people.
Golly, it was packed. I'm telling you. I was trying to get every angle. I'm like, I gotta make sure. But yeah, man, that shit was packed. So it was dope to see that. And another thing, speaking about full circle moments, you know, I was digging a little, and I actually want to read a quote from you from a few years ago.
Oh man, you about to? Oh, what do you? I'm like, where have I been quoted? All right, let me hit me.
All right, so this is how it goes. When you're walking down the street and you catch something glaring in the corner of your eye, then you see your favorite group is playing, and you realize life is lit after all.
I know the exact Instagram post you're talking about because I didn't even archive that shit. It's still up. There's a couple of things from back in the day just because they're no longer relevant in our archive, but that's an early one. And that one right there, I'm really glad you bring it up because I took that photo in Sunset Park, a neighborhood that I now have wonderful ties to. I'm from the Bronx, New York, Kingsbridge to be exact, born and raised. I'm gonna be there. Sunset Park, I have family there, particularly my cousin Steven Velez, who goes by Cumbiero or Sonidero Blues. This fool was doing publicidades when he was 13 in middle school. They was bringing him to all the bailes because he was in the Mecca in the PueblaYork shit, like in Brooklyn where it was happening. And like, you know, his family was definitely more on a musical oriented tip. And you know, some families like to get turned a little more, you know. So like my folks are a little more reserved, so I was never exposed to that all the way. But I saw how he was, and you know, he was running it up probably from like 13 to 15, and then, you know, you get older and things, you start to see different things, and he kind of fell back from it a little bit. In that early pocket, before I was doing anything, I also have a cumbia track called Por las Sombras. I get my two guys in the studio. I'm pushing my cousin to get back into cumbia a little bit, especially now that I'm more involved in music. No, actually, I wasn't even doing anything with like that. Wait, was I? I can't remember. The dates are all mixing up. It's all around the same era.
Yeah.
So I'm in there, they're cooking up, and I'm like, yo, I could kind of catch a vibe to this. I was like, let me write some shit. I was like, no me espanta oscuridad, en la noche hay que jugar. And then, funny enough, the next bar kind of contradicts. It was like, con la cumbia no se juega. What did I say? Con la no se... Tú no quieres más problemas, no la aguantas, esa cumbia no la aguantas. Wait till you roll back and hear this shit, dog. Fucking, that shit was a hit, dog. People still spin it on vinyl all over the world. Randomly, I get tagged in like parties in like Spain or Mexico City where they're running the vinyl. And this many years later, that was even before I had any intentions of doing anything with cumbia. We made a fucking hit-ass song. Now, this many years later, I'm in a crazy cumbia bag now. Now, my cousin, he flooding the streets. He getting ready. He's now he's supplying me exclusive stuff. He's working on different flips, and that's all to say to go back to that post that you did. That was me and him chilling in Sunset Park, just walking around his neighborhood, and like Sunset Park is so Mexican, like one of the biggest Mexican hoods in New York City. Such beautiful, rich history. so many amazing things happening there with the homies at Plaza Tonatiu and Mexicanos Unidos, and it's just funny that that was just me and my cousin kicking it on civilian mode, me really appreciating the aesthetics. And I grew up around cumbia and I have an ear for it, and I started to develop my own ear as I became more educated with cumbia. But I'll always salute my cousin, because he was always like, yo, Tones, here's a playlist, check this shit out. And from there is where I would go and I would dig deeper. But he gave me like a little syllabus in the same way the homies Marvelito and Ace did with fucking with club music and more like underground hip hop and shit. Is like, he did that for me, and now I feel so grateful that he back in the game. He gonna be DJing real fucking soon. He gonna be and he coming out with bangers, and he get to come with me to these parties, and I'm like, yo bro, come here, I'll play your shit. Look, they're losing their minds, bro.
Yeah.
And I get to do that with other homies too, bro. Like my homie DJ Chihuahua and shit. Like, been running his tracks forever before I even knew him personally, and he's seen what I've been doing, and now we're building such a special camaraderie. And the framework for me was like that real brotherhood and pride that I learned through Like That Records, through Ace and Marv.
And for those who don't know what I'm referring to, it's a poster that has Grupo Kual headlining with a bunch of other groups right there.
Dude, wait. I'm over here I'm in the moment about the idea of it, but I forgot. You're absolutely right. It's a fucking Grupo Kual.
It's a Grupo Kual poster. Yeah.
Grupo Kual. That is insane. What?
Yeah.
Oh my god! It just completely slipped my mind.
It's a Grupo Kual poster, man. That's why I say it's a full circle moment this weekend.
I'm gonna be real. Like that wasn't even me. Like when I posted that, I wasn't as enriched in the history of things as I am now. So it's kind of even more coincidental than anything. But I knew that they were legends always, because that is Kual. You always hear that in the crib, man. You always hear that blaring by. That shit is ingrained in me, so I know that,
Once you hear the abuelita, you know what's coming next.
Dude, when I shared the flyer for that for the first time on my Instagram, I was like, abuelita, soy el hijo y desde PueblaYork ya llegué.
Damn, that's wild.
Dude, that's my copywriter brain. We forgetting when I can do it smooth, I love it.
Yeah.
But that's all to say, dude. And then fucking, on Saturday before the show, I got to do Dub Lab Radio, dude.
A hub here.
A hub. Beautiful, beautiful station. Salute to them. Salute to Discos Rolas, Ganas, Shandao for having me on their sound studies show, I believe. Forgive me if I saying the name wrong of the show, but we weren't sure if Kual was gonna make it or not, so it was kind of on the fly, like how long my mix was gonna be and how long my interview was gonna be. And I'm mixing and I'm just going in, I'm having fun. I was having a little bit of a hiccups, not anything that I was embarrassed by. It was just the equipment was too nice, dude. It was like the fucking top, like quality, like the latest CDJs and mixers, and like, dude, them shits is like spaceships. I was like, I have fun, but I also like, I rarely get to play on equipment that nice. So I was like, getting comfortable on it. It took me a second to kind of figure out all the knobs and shit, but I got there. And once I did, dude, the entire band walks in. And the next song I have loaded up, it's not a mega deep cut, but it's kind of a deep cut. It's called Together Forever by Grupo Kual. I don't know if you know it. It's like, he be rapping his ass off on that song. He said the hook is like, it has like a 90 BPM, and it's kind of like a little hip hop bounce to it. He's like, together forever, and it has like scratches on it. And then the verse is like the most romantic verse. And he's like, juntos los dos con la historia, eres mi camino, tú eres mi pasión. Like, I'm playing that. Just before that song, they didn't walk in when I was playing their song. They walked in when I was playing a few songs before that. The song I mixed Together Forever into, like, the song I played just before it was Cosas Bonitas. I believe it's Maravilla. Are you familiar? It's been taken off on TikTok in the last couple of weeks. It's kind of hilarious. Damn. It's a you know the joint, right? It's like, quiero decirte cosas bonitas. And I love playing that romantic shit, that old school, like, '05 feel. Fucking... Dude, Cosas Bonitas hits that really, really soft pocket, and then I got to bring in Together Forever, and just, like, raising the volume slowly, and then the scratches, like... And then I was, like, peeping in the corner of my eye at the front man, Angel Pedraza.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's like... Like, you could tell, like, oh, shit, a deep cut, and, like... I'm like... I wonder what he gonna think of this, but I'm owning it, man. I'm there. I'm in the moment. I actually, like, it was nice and cool in the studio, but then, 12 bodies came through and it got hot and I was fucking sweating. I was like, man, whatever. What the fuck? I'm gonna own this moment. Like, fucking just go, play a few more.
What did he think? Did he tell you anything?
Well, dude, this is the crazy shit. So I'm playing a few more, and I even played some super, super rare shit. This is gonna sidetrack for a little bit, and we're gonna get back to the Kual part, but there's a grupo named, sometimes listed Grupo Cristal, sometimes listed Chicas Cristal, a duo, two women from I want to say Cholula, and they definitely had roots in Queens, because I found one song of theirs on YouTube, just one, and it was amazing. It was like that 2006 auto-tune heavy cumbia pocket. It did a little bare bones, and it was called Yo Te Quiero Un Chingón. I was like, and it was like the one version of it on YouTube was super crunch, like it was a copy of a copy of a copy. You could tell. I said, I have to track this CD down. I can't reveal my secrets, but I tracked the CD down. I got the original files. I got lost media, essentially. I have 12 of these tracks now. And I played one of those songs during that set, like super. So some shit people have forgotten about or never really heard. They weren't a big grupo. No one ever really. I don't think anything ever really came of it. Finish the mix, run around the booth, sit down. I'm getting interviewed by Shandao, whose show it is. Talking about my Kumbias Mezcladas como nunca antes, talking about my process, talking about my approach, a little bit of what I played. She throws Angel Pedraza into the fucking interview. Like, we start sharing a mic. She's like, yo, come over here, sit down. And I'm like, I pride myself in that I stand tall, and I rarely get nervous, and I didn't get nervous, but there was definitely a second where I was like, this is fucking surreal, dude. And he's looking at me, and the funniest thing, dude, is like my son all rhinestoned out. Fly, dude. He eccentric. I fuck with it. I flew in for this trip with just socks and boxers. I shout out my boys, Paisa Boys, for lacing your boy up for this trip. I like my pants baggy. I got a baggy pair of pants. I didn't have a belt. The good homie, God bless my manager, CCTV management consignment, lent me his BB Simmons belt. If you're not familiar with what a BB Simmons belt is like, think of some shit, a type of belt Lil Wayne would wear in 2007 with the big buckle and all rhinestoned out. So
that's a great comparison.
It was swaggy, bro, swaggy. And my man is rhinestoned out. And I just needed it to hold my pants up more than anything, because of how I came for this trip. And eventually it's just not working, and the homie Mex Tape, bless my hermano heart, lends me his little Oaxaca belt that I'm still rocking right now. Nice little cinturita. And it works. But I now have this big ass belt, and I'm just like, I just have it on me, like over my fucking, like wearing it like a fucking tie, basically, like an untied tie. And he was fucking with the swag. My dude Angel Pedraza and his rhinestones was like, yeah. And I had the Paisa Boys joint, the New York Yankees fitted they had with the fucking like charro type print on the brim. Mm-hmm. And like, he saw the hip hop bounce that I was fucking, like the energy behind it. And he also heard me play a deep cut that was essentially like it was hip hop influence for sure. So we sit down, and the whole thing is kind of a dream. I have to go back and before I misquote myself, but it really felt like he passed the torch where he was like, yo, like, you're doing something different. And I'm trying to remember if he said it on air or if he said it to me afterwards, but he was just like, the thing about grupos and sonidos and all cumbiamberos is we rep where we from. We proud of that shit. So, he get on the mic, San Juan de Aragón, Mexico, el DF, like just doing his shout outs and shit. And then he's like, hey, aquí con el Hijo de PueblaYork. And he just grabs me by the arm, dude. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, God damn, bro, what? And, dude, even... like I said, this whole weekend has been like, I feel like I'm on a cloud, so I have to go back before I like misquote myself or anything. But even after the conversation I had with him, and he was like, yo, you're doing something raw, something really different. And it's like salute, and then, dude, just later that day during the performance, I'm going out, I'm in the green room, I'm leaving to go to the stage to get ready to fucking get on that stage. He grabs me. He's like, me pones la de la Chicas Cristal, Yo Te Quiero Un Chingón. The rare record. He requested it, dog. Unfortunately, my set was cut a little short because of, how events of that scale go. It's all love. And I couldn't, but just the fact that, like, that's what he said to me before I got on, and he remembered the radio show and everything, and that was on his mind. I was like, yo, the digging I'm doing is different, dude. It's like, it's really, I feel like I really sharpened my ear to capture an era. And that was like a crazy confirmation that I wasn't even looking for or expecting, but super grateful for.
And I think that's one of the things, because this is something you keep mentioning as well, is like that intersection between hip hop, cumbia, regionalism. I feel like all of that is all coming together and is shown more than anything this weekend.
Dude, and this weekend more than ever, I'm getting, like, one thing I pride myself in too is that I'm not going to pretend like I know all this shit. I don't. I'm learning as I go. I'm respecting the history as much as I can. You don't always get everything right, but you better fucking try, for real, and ask those questions. And, like, all of the individuals that I've been around this weekend, from Jorge from Sabatoje Media in Monterrey, from my brother Mixtape, from Discos Rolas, Shandao and Ganas, and all of the people adjacent to them that we bring around, it's just like, it's just cumbia history being passed around and different puzzle pieces being put on the table and different things. And I'm so young and fresh in this, and the fact that these people who know their shit for real, like they live, breathe, sleep, eat this cumbia life, and have been before it was anything popular of that nature, but when it was just, this is what I like, and they're inviting me to these shows, they're telling me, yo, like, to know that they have all the context and that they see that I'm gonna be taking it further ahead, and they're supporting me by putting me next to Grupo Kual, it's insane. And then I think about how Discos Rolas ended up being the ones who put out that Grupo Jejeje project. Shandao, she put out a compilation in 2015 called Un Saludo, and she picked deep cut records from these grupos that she got in the, like, back in Mexico. And, like, there's one of my favorite Grupo Jujuy songs on there, Caraway. It's like, Caraway, 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 todos bailan. Fire. And, like, that was happening the same time I'm getting involved in Like That Records, and the same time my cousin Steven Sonidero Blues helping me shape my ear, and at the same time, and it's just like, bro, it's full circle, but at this point it's a fucking slinky, because it's just infinite full circle moments that I'm experiencing. It's kind of crazy that the visual of a slinky made me think of an accordion too, and I'm like, that's fire. That's fire.
Yo, the thing about this, and this is something you've mentioned as well, is like how important it is just to, like, be tapped into these different groups of people and building a community all together, right? Go ahead. Finish. No, I was gonna bring something else. So if you got something on your mind,
well, I love the intention of what you just said, but I always get fucking triggered by that word, man. Shit. Community. You know why? Because this shit is so fucking abused, man. They just, it's the new safe space, dude. They slap it on something, or they kind of, folks tend to preach it instead of fucking practicing it, man.
That's a fact.
And the thing is like, yo, my homies, Like That Records, Ace, Marv, all the people around that I just mentioned, all the cumbia heads that I was just talking about, yeah, we're a community, but I don't ever like to call it that, because the word is so conflated. but we live that shit.
Mhm.
We live it. Like, I get to be a part of that. And I don't like to open doors when it's like, come be a part of this community. No. You don't even have to gesture it that way or use that word. Just come and be. Just be yourself. Maybe you fit, maybe you don't.
Yeah.
And when the pieces do fall into place, it builds community. But I'd rather the community speak for itself than call it that. You feel me?
That's real.
That's what
real.
I was, yeah.
That's real.
Because people take advantage of that shit all the time, and especially in New York, I see it, you know, like a lot of folks, I'm grateful for anybody who wants me to come and play their event, or anybody who even supports me, listens to me. Any time of day you give me, I am super grateful. But don't try to Trojan horse your way into this shit either.
Mhm.
People always be like, yeah, what you're doing is so cool for the community and all this and that. And I'm like, all right, so show up. I don't see you at my parties. Like, you're just trying to butter me up. And dude, that shit happens once a fucking week, dude. And I like to call it out because these people need to know I'm onto your shit. And don't be moving like that for real around Cumbia. Like, we're holding this shit close to us, especially in New York. You know, I have a funny ass story. I get an email at like 7 p.m., dude, evening time. Hey, what's up? Like, we want to have you be a part of this festival. People were requesting you. We're actually announcing tomorrow, so if you can just give me a call right now. I would love to have you on. I'm getting the flyer together right now. I want you on there. Give me a call. Dude, what the fuck? Who does business like that? Who the hell? Like, that is some bullshit. I just looked at that shit and laughed. I just looked at the little preview and I was like, man, whatever. I had a show that night. At the time, I didn't know I was going to become the resident for this party. So I had been doing all my parties for so long. I finally got it to a place where I'm getting booked for other stuff. People finally understand it. I get booked for a party called La Gota Fria. Shout out to Anna and Yawar, the organizers behind that. They created this party is like they call it experimental Latin music night, in that, you know, you got reggaeton, dembow, baile funk, cumbia. They ended up booking me as the headliner for that party. Dude, it was at a venue called Market Hotel. And Market Hotel is dope in that visually, the way it looks, it sits on a second story off Myrtle Broadway in Brooklyn, right above a little like 24-hour like fruit market. The window where you DJ, right behind you is a big window facing the train platform. So anyone on the train platform can look in and see what's going on in there. So it's majestic in there, dude. It's like a movie. It really looks like some shit out of like Batman or something, like Gotham, real Gotham, and like, but like cumbia, and I'm shaking it down, and it's one of my favorite sets to that date, right? And I'm getting off. I'm like, everyone's giving me love. I'm like, yo, thank you. Because one thing about me, bro, is somebody wants to come up to me and say thank you. As long as I'm able to and have the time and the capacity, I'm always give you the time of day, because you give me the time of day. One of the organizer who had sent me that bullshit ass email, and one of the organizer who had emailed me from that festival, hey, like, I wanted to come talk to you about booking you for my festival. I told you I had already read that email. I already know he was on some bullshit. So I was like, what's up, man? Like, and he was like, telling me about, oh, we got this, and he's like leading with like sponsorships and this and that. I'm like, oh, sponsorships, cool. So like, what's your budget? And he's like, well, and that's already once the immediate sound after isn't a number, I already know you're not serious about this. It's not even about what that number or that figure is. Just the fact that you weren't even leading with the figure means you don't respect my work, and you didn't care to build good graces with me to be able to build that good faith where I can say, you know what, yeah, let's do something together for the low, let's build together. None of that. I said, I'm gonna stop you there. Thank you for coming to see me, but you just witnessed what I did here, and you don't have nothing to offer me. And then eventually the offer turned into like some fucking like little $200 or something. At that point, it didn't even matter. I already was like, this is so stupid. So I was like, you saw what I just did here. This is what I charge. I'm obviously not going to say the figure. I have a lot of beautiful things lining up for me. I have availability in 3 months. The price is doubling then. If you got that for me, holla at me. If you don't, I wish you the best with your little festival. Some felt stupid, dude. And And it's I say that to say, I didn't ever intend to share that story publicly, but it is important to me now to say it because people need to know there are people watching what's happening and they're being opportunistic about it. People did some digging and it was apparently like registered a trademark or something, and nothing had even happened yet. So people started connecting dots, and it just feels like you were creating something with the intention of selling it off rip. I'm not mad at you getting money in this. I get my money in this, but I had to work fucking hard for people to respect that number. But I put in the work and I respected the culture, and it gave me that respect back. Mad people don't be doing that, dude. And that one was somebody who I saw not respecting it, and I had to fucking check that shit. Cause like, don't be doing that. Like, you're gonna feel stupid, and you're gonna keep feeling stupid. And I try to lead with that carefulness, dude, because like, I'll give you an example, right? A publication, not a super major one, but it's got a fairly strong following and a fairly strong Latino following, had inquired about an interview. When they reached out, they were like, we want to talk to Cumbia DJs like you, Sonidero Blues, Marvelito. Already, Marvelito, that's my brother. He's not a Cumbia DJ. He taught me through hip hop and electronic music. Sonidero Blues is just producing music now, has never DJed. So you already didn't do your fucking homework. I'm not rude though. Thank you so much for your interest. Like, let's talk. I got some time. They're like, they just kind of started. It started to feel a little unprofessional. It turned in from like, oh, phone to in person, this and that. I just didn't get a good feeling about it, so I backed away. But they reached out to a lot of other people in my camp, and like, it was frustrating because it's like, no, do this dance with grace, please. Like, don't just think you can knock on the door and get the information you want and be about your way. And that's why I made sure we all turned down that interview, because you didn't come with respect that you should have. And I don't think it was intentional. That's the thing. I don't, it's not malicious. It's not intentional. And I'm sure there was good intentions there. But if you're not going to do your homework, don't cover this shit, because that piece did end up coming out, dude. It came out a month ago. And I'm so grateful that I didn't find out about it until recently, because it means that no one cared to put it in my purview because they knew it was wrong. Dude, they talked about, they said a lot of really kind things, and I appreciate it, but they got so much wrong. They mentioned people who weren't Cumbia DJs as Cumbia DJs. They didn't contextualize the Sonidero scene that has existed for decades now there. And then they contextualized what I do with that bullshit ass festival I just told you about. And like, they kind of made it seem like it's happening together as a moment, and it's absolutely not, dude. And that's why I'm here to check the history, dog, because it's like, I don't want y'all to think that that's what my shit is. Absolutely not, bro. What I do is different. It's informed, it's respectful, it's careful, and it's always about, like, it's not just, bro, I'm looking out. I want other DJs and other young kids to DJ how I DJ, and then bring their own sauce into it too, because if it doesn't go past me, nothing that I do will be remembered, and it won't have been worth nothing. Like, I don't do shit to make myself feel good. Feeling good is just a benefit of it. What I do is I'm fucking creating ripple effects that will be felt already forever. Forever, dog, with this cumbia, for real. And like, it's just so silly, because like, it's affirming to know everyone is so hungry to do their own version of it and to cover it, but they just want to take the fucking towel and like string all the juice out and move on to the next thing. And I'm like, no. That's not how we're doing this shit. We're going to do this shit with grace, respect, for real. Like, know your shit. Do your homework. Don't be jumping into the fire, And the good thing is there are people who are doing their homework. I have a really fucking major piece on the way that I can't say on where it's going to be, but it is going to be fucking big, dude. And the story didn't even start with me. The story started with the migration of Poblanos to New York, and how cumbia followed suit, and how the Sonidero scene was born, and the future that's coming through, and the flag that I'm flying, bringing back the term PueblaYork, bringing back these old cumbias with the new cumbias, bringing my fucking squad with me. I'm not a Sonidero in a traditional sense, but I carry a lot of those principles with me. and I bring my own stuff and all the things that I learned with Like That Records and through all the homies like Turbo and Mixtape. Everybody who's led by example, dude. That's the thing. We all need to lead by example in this, and I've been so lucky to have all those people and more lead by example for me.
Right on, man. That's beautifully said, man. That's beautifully said.
I feel like I went on a crazy rant there.
Nah, man. No. Because I think you brought up something really important. It's all rooted, like you mentioned. It was like in this word, the way that the word community is used, right? That's where it stemmed from.
Abused.
And not only that, not only like what you're mentioning, your experience, but even here in LA. You know what I mean? Even here in LA with all these publications, all these brands, all these things that are taking a part of the culture and using it in a way that it shouldn't be used.
You know what? And with social media and the internet, it's not even delegated to one city. They're trying to do that shit with, like, it doesn't matter where it's happening. They'll take it and they'll be like, look at this thing. And it's like, that's why you have to be there to see these things for yourself, to say you were a part of the history. When you see Hellotones in your city, you come see him because it's going to be happening. But when you're in New York, come to one of my shits and I'm going to show you what happens. You know, I had the pleasure of being able to spin a couple of bailes myself. I'd be invited. And one time they threw me into the fire, as the Sonidero culture is. It's a little cutthroat. They got 16 people on the flyer. You got some shit, you figure it out. Wasn't mad at it, bro, because, you know, that's their culture and I got to respect it a little bit. And then a similar situation happened in another baile that I was booked for, but that fuck up was on me, dude. I brought the wrong cable and they had the cable that I needed to hook up my equipment into their system. But it was like a cable they found lying around and the sound was wonky, dude. I had no bass and I was like, dude, take me off. I'm going to fuck up your party and I'm not here to do that. Yeah. Shout out to them because they still paid me in full, even though I made sure I was like, yo, I didn't deliver. And they were like, no, you came, you did you tried and you did it with respect. And I think the fact that I was like, I don't want to fuck up your party, take me off right now, was like, as someone who has done my own parties before, I get that. And like being able to make that call confidently and apologize for it was an important part. But I say all that to say that I just realized that my format doesn't fit there. And that's okay. That's okay. I feel like what I've been starting to realize, like where my shit is going is like, it's a lot of jovencitos coming out. It's a lot of the youth. It's like, especially this party that I started doing as the resident DJ, La Gota Fria. It's an 18 plus show. It's really nice that the young fans can come out and see that. And I deliver every time with my full energy, and it warms my fucking heart to just see, like, I start getting tagged in all these stories, right? And I thank as much as I can. My fingers be getting tired now that it's a lot more, but I thank everybody who ever tags me in a story by name if I can, because y'all are the reason that I'm even here. Y'all are spreading the fucking word, and y'all are behind me. My city really behind me. And I love when I just click on a profile and it's like the bios has a little pin and it's like PueblaYork.
That's dope.
And I'm like, yeah, we bringing that shit back, because that phrase, dude, is really more of the 80s, 90s, and the 2000s. Hopefully I'm not getting that wrong. It's all anecdotal information for me, but it's not a phrase you hear a lot. And the reason it came into my purview was because I think it was actually Turbo who would always like bring it up, because that, you know, he a little older, he from that era, and he remembers when it was acknowledged as that. And I was like, yeah, PueblaYork, that shit got a nice ring to it for real, and it captures perfectly my poblano roots. But I grew up in New York, dude. I'm fucking American as fuck, as much as I wouldn't say it that plainly, but it's the truth, man. You know, like, I'm of this hip hop shit, I'm of this New York culture shit. You can hear it in the way I talk and fucking dress and shit, and it's like, I get that, and I want to acknowledge the crossover there. So it's important for me to own it. And funny enough, to go back to that Grupo Kual poster I posted on Instagram 5 years ago in Sunset Park, dude, I didn't start calling myself El Hijo de PueblaYork till I spun. So I spun in Sunset Park. In the actual neighborhood is called Sunset Park, and then there's an actual park in it. So I spun in that park. It sits on a hill, dude. It overlooks the Manhattan skyline. Biggest Mexican hood in New York, as far as I know. I was invited by a group of organizers who organize a free plaza called Plaza Tonatiuh. They wanted to empower the neighborhood and the vendors to be able to sell without having to deal with the bullshit ass bureaucratic process that the city makes for food vendors, for mobile food vendors. And then just anyone trying to sell shit and make a living. So they're like, yo, we're gonna do this shit in the park. We're gonna they basically created a fucking tianguis every Sunday in the park. The last one that they did of last year was Dia de los Muertos on a Sunday. I was invited to play. Dude, at the time it was like one of the biggest shows I had played, but it was for the fucking people, dude. Just like how yesterday was, but on a more intimate scale. But it was for the people, for real. And again, nobody knows who the fuck I am. At that point, there's no title. It's just Hellotones. Who the hell is this guy? No Sonidero. He don't have a microphone. What is going on? You got little kids. You got teens. You got young adults. You got fucking tios and tias. You got abuelitas, abuelitos. Dude, I start playing and I'm just mixing my shit. And I'm doing it a little faster because I want them to get it. Like, this shit is different. And you know, a lot of times too, when I mix my music, I'm not just mixing fast into the next songs. I be blending my shit. I will play two songs over each other and work those levels to create a live remix. I do that shit all the time. It's a point of pride in my creative, like in my mixing. Dude, I'm just going in. I'm like, all right, just fucking turn it up, man. Just have a good time. It's for the people. Before I look up, bro, it is just, I have all these Mexicans, all these different age groups moving like that. All my homies behind me, all my family behind me. On the sides, Facebook Live, Instagram Live, fucking like 60 phones. I was in the zone the whole time. What I described to you was just me seeing video after the fact and my people's telling me. So I sat, after I like just took that all in, I'm like, damn, I really like put on for the city for real. Like, I just witnessed myself shake this city and like move these people. Like, but I don't want to call myself the king of this shit. That's not what Cumbia is about. Cumbia is really special in that it honors humility. And that's something that's always been so beautiful to me. Is like, and I try to I do carry that very close to me. Yo, thank you for coming out. What's your name? How you doing? How's everything? To anybody who's ever given me the time of day to support me. So I'm like, what the fuck is it? I'm getting there and like, what am I gonna? And then it fucking clicked, dude. I'm a product of this. I'm the son of this, of the Poblano roots in New York City. I'm el Hijo de PueblaYork. Dude, that shit, that was in, and then I dropped a mix in the last November, El Hijo de PueblaYork Volume 1. I only did 3. I intended to keep going, but the shit just started taking off, dude, and now I'm like really fucking being able to do this shit, dude. But it took all of that to get here. People don't even see that, dog. I mean, a lot of people have been following me, and they will, and the story will be told. I know that for a fact, just on this interview alone. Just on the other interviewers with, like you, with care to do their research, are gonna get this story. Because this is what I'm here to honor, you know. I want this dude. I was so like, you were the only person to reach out in this capacity for something like this, and I saw what you were doing, and I said, yeah, I want to do that.
Damn. Bro, I appreciate you. I hella appreciate you. Because, man, this is what it's all about. Like you were saying, it's that humility, but it's also knowing where you stand, who you are, where you're from. You talking about, like knowing the authentic, what isn't, but also understanding that it's all humble, man. It's from the hood to the hoods, you know? Yeah,
man. And ask questions, bro. There's nothing cool about pretending like you know some shit when you don't. Just ask questions. People are here to educate you. We'll try our best. Not everyone will do your homework for you, but there's syllabuses out there. You can find your shit. Yeah. Like, if you really care about it, don't just pretend. Actually do the work to care about it.
Yo, but going back to this, because I was trying to also ask you about this, because you're mentioning you're a part of, like, you know, these different music things that are happening around, but it's also, I see that there's also like clothing happening around in the city, you know, with Ghetto Friends, right? And that connection as well.
So all right, I'm a little tight on time, so I'm going to shorten this one a little bit. But, yo, salute to Ghetto Friends. I had a supporter of mine, Henry, 5-star mano, phenomenal photographer, all-around creative. He does a lot of photos for Ghetto Friends for their products and different, like, little lookbook situations. just been rocking with me off the cumbia. Reaches out last summer around June or July. Yo, my friends have this brand. Would love to have you at the pop-up. Full transparency, there isn't a budget, but we would love to give you some of our pieces. I love when people lead with transparency, man. We keep it real. Like, let's all build together. I look at this brand, and not that I had to have it at a certain caliber, but you know, a lot of streetwear brands come out of nowhere, and it's just like a graphic on a shirt, and then it doesn't exist for much longer, and they keep it pushing. I'm into like nuance shit, you know. And these kids not kids. They're young cats. These young cats, I believe, majority from Queens, very very Mexican. You know, fucking Queens is the melting pot of the world. I love my city. Cut and sewn garments, like technical shit, like making the tees a little crop, making the hoodies a little crop, weird, like taking risks. And it's not just like a print, it's cut and sewn, it's denim, it's distressed denim, it's all this fly shit. And it's in the same vein of the merging of the hip-hop and the fucking Mexican culture, like this. And that's what them dudes are. And I knew a couple of the other DJs they booked around, because it was like hip-hop DJs. Salute, like the people I was fucking with. But I came and I did a little cumbia set. I must only spun for 45 minutes. Unfortunately, the sound system that day was having technical difficulties. I ended up doing it off a JBL Bluetooth speaker. Like the little joint, right? The little joint.
Yeah.
It was mad crunchy because I had the levels all the way up. I was like, I'm going to have to work within parameters of this. So it was like... But there was a pocket of... It was a mix of, you know... Not just Mexicans. It was a good mix of folks in there, like all ethnicities. And they were all up front rocking with me. They were just like... And every now and then a little dance would break out. But, you know, I had to work within parameters. It wasn't that loud. So only really the people in the front could hear. But I remember this young cat. His name is Yuji. He was hovering around with a camera recording me, and this was a rare ass set. I was sitting down, dude. It actually had a black tablecloth like this, and I was just chilling. I was having a good ass time. Like, I rarely get to sit, and I'm like, this is casual, I can do this. But I loved the way he was working those angles. So after the fact, we had a conversation. I'm like, bro, I didn't even get to see what you shot, but I already know from the way you were moving, it's dope. If you ever want to shoot something of mine at like one of my events, let me know. Dude, that was last July. That is my brother. We are like this. He shoots every single one of my events, with the exception of this past one in LA, which he will have a hand in on editing, what you see later. But he has been there for almost every event that I've done since then, recording everything. And then we come together and we plot on how to make a little mini recap video. Minute 15 seconds. Because I was trying to figure out how to work the system too. I needed to figure out how Instagram Reels was moving so that I can I was doing all the work on the ground, but people got to see it elsewhere too. So I'm like, I see how he doing. And like from the school of Like That Records, of connecting dots that way, building a team. Come on, bro. I'm just getting started. You know, I don't have nothing to offer you at the moment other than game, DJ skills, perspective, and trust that we're gonna build something. This much time later, we've done like 10 videos. They've all been incredibly instrumental in showing people what I can do. He's such close homies with all my close homies now, and we're all a fucking family. In just a year, bro, this young Mexican kid, bro, fucking gorgeous ass dude. He be modeling too. Like, he model, that's his thing, but his passion is his fucking video work, dude. And he saw what I was doing was unintentionally, like, I was able to be a muse for his video work, and I'm able to give all the knowledge and skills that I can and what I know back.
Yeah,
we've built something so special. You can go on my Instagram. Every video that me and him have done together is a collaboration post. Like, check that shit out. It really is. And that's why I say yes to things like that when people keep it transparent. Because look at all the things that unfold because of one little domino getting knocked over. Someone being like, hey, I don't got this for you right now, but yeah, like, this is what we can do, and like, let's build something. And we all get to fucking eat and be happy. That's it, man. Like, we really all get to see it and share it together.
Yeah. Man, one last question for you, because, man, we could go on. But one last question, man. And I ask this to every guest just because I think it's just as important to reflect, be in the present, but also think about the future. What do you hope for Hellotones and for the movement?
The way I like to contextualize what I'm working, like what my goal is in the same vein that we watched reggaeton blow up on a scale like never before in the last 15, 20 years. Dembow in the last 5 years. Corridos in the last year. I feel like we're at the forefront of that moment for cumbia, and I want us all to be there. And in some ways it's already happening whether or not I'm involved, but I'm in this shit now, and like I do feel it because, dude, even just this grand performances that we did, like a lot of the homies I invited were people who didn't even know me for cumbia, like yo, Young Atita. That's when I was out. That's when I was mixing rock, dude. But they always showed love. They always showed love when I would put their music in my, and even though it wasn't always in the context that people understood, when they could say hey, thank you, and give that support, I was like, hey, I want you to be here for this event. Please come. And like I made sure, and I'm just saying I had all, and you know, people out here, the Mexican culture is adjacent to it, so it's not like they've never been exposed to it, but on a scale like that, to have the indie rocker homies out, to have the fucking SoundCloud homies in the building, to have all the other homies who were just fucking with me because they like how I DJ. It doesn't even matter what I was DJing. I made sure they were all there so that they could feel that shit with me. And they could say, yo, you looked out for me and look at how far it took me.
Damn. Man, thank you so much for coming through. Hellotones.
We'll definitely run it back next time.
Hell yeah.
I have a lot more to talk about. Dude. And dude, thank you for inviting me. Thank you for all your research, your time, your questions. Nate, thank you for all your work with the cameras. Like, this shit is, it's a team effort, and y'all show it and I see it, and maybe the cameras, because they're recording it, can't see themselves and shit, but yo, this shit doesn't just happen, and we don't turn on the lights and it's just there. It's like, nah, this shit is blood, sweat, and tears, and you give yourself to this because it's important for that. Like, I'm sure you value being able to document this. And dude, I'm gonna see this conversation 5 years from now and be like, yo, I remember when I sat there with Tony. Damn. Nate was on the cameras, their radio. They're gonna be on season 17.
Golly.
It's just gonna be like a fucking like them Harry Potter pictures moving in a frame or some shit. We're gonna be in the future, dog, and there's gonna be their radio.
Bro, man, you just honestly, you captured that moment of the end of the season perfectly. Thank y'all for tapping in for the second season. This is what it's all about. It's documenting cultures, documenting people, it's documenting our histories, and moving forward, man. That's what it's all about, and changing it. So I appreciate y'all coming through. Thank y'all for season 2. We'll be back in a few months. Man, Hellotones, thank you for making that connection. NY Poblanos, LA Poblanos.
Let's go, Puebla, York. Make it happen, yo.
There you
Love
go.
to their radio. Yo, stay tuned for the next season.
Peace.